Hello, YouTube. Mark coming at you from Northeast Indiana. Today, I'm out in the shop. It's probably looking out a window right here. It's probably 35 degrees. A little bit chilly, but I got the heater going. We have no real ice on the lakes around us yet. We had a cold spell back in December, but then it warmed up unseasonably warm, and now we're back to just open water. But I am working on replacing the line on my ice fishing poles. It's been a few years since I've gone ice fishing, and it's probably been a few years past that since I've ever replaced fishing line. So I have some Trilene micro ice, 8 pounds test. That'd be plenty for what I go fishing for. But these rods and reels are just, first of all, they're all stuck to one another, but they're just filthy. I've been in the garage just sitting. I didn't have a sled to put them in. I have one now, so I'm just kind of getting everything around. But take you along for today, maybe chat a little bit about what's going on. Thanks for joining. All right, got the line off. I don't know if that line was bad or not. Probably wasn't, but it was older. So take the reel off. I'm gonna clean that up, clean this rod up. This is a made in China Shakespeare ugly stick. 26 inches, light action, 2 to 6 pound. I'm putting 8 pound test on there. That reel, it accommodates 150 yards, 8 pound test, and I won't put that much on there. I might put half of that on there, but these are real nice. Nice ice fishing poles. I just fish for panfish, and if I get a small bass or something, an occasional pike, that would be awesome. But for what I do, it's mostly going to be bluegill, brim, the red ear, things like that. Maybe some perch. We don't have a lot of perch around us. At least I haven't gotten into them, but these are great. I love these. This other one here is, let me see. I think I got this one, believe it or not. Oh man, I got everything all. I believe I got this orange one. I want to say it was like in a Big Lots years and years ago. I don't know. But it's nothing fancy. It's not a Shakespeare. It says HT Neon Ice Extreme. 25 inches. It's lightweight, obviously. I don't even know if I've ever caught anything on this. I think I have. It's been a little while. Then these are your more traditional ice fishing poles. This one here you can pick up in any farm store around, TSC, we got Rural King, RP, we got all those stores around us. But yeah, you generally can get these just about anywhere. It's a little jigger, and it's a little bit stiffer. This is the bobber. As you see, I got line all wrapped around here. I don't know what's going on here. Let me see if I can loosen this up. Very simple system. But as you're jigging over the hole, you're going up and down, of course. And then when you get that bite, I'm not sure if you can see, you get that bite, it'll start, this little bobber start dropping. The drag is just a little spin wheel on these. So you tighten that up, it gets a little bit harder. Pretty standard stuff. You see a lot of these. Sometimes, in fact, I think they come with a little leg stand. You set them by the hole. I'll probably just make one out of some flat bar. But these got to be less than 10 bucks still, I would imagine. I got a bunch of these when I bought the sled from the guy at the garage sale, estate sale. I guess he had passed away, and I picked up a couple sleds and all this ice fishing equipment for like 10 bucks. I tried to give the the lady of the house more than that because they were worth more than that. She didn't want it, so she just wanted it to go somewhere. Somebody'd use it. So that's what I'm gonna do. All right, let me get cleaning this up. I'm rambling. So I figure I'll tell you a quick story while I kind of clean this reel. One of the first times, so growing up, I guess, you know, you guys need to know this. I didn't have parents that it was a rough situation, and growing up, I didn't do anything outdoors. I mean, they'd kick us outdoors and we'd play in the streets and stuff, but nobody really to teach simple things like gardening. I mowed the lawn and trimmed. That was about it, like just about every other kid back in the 70s. But no one ever really taught me how to fish, how to hunt. And me and my brother, my younger brother, 2 years younger than me, we got fishing poles, and we'd go down to the, I think it was a local, it was probably just some runoff pond or something, but we'd fish. And my younger brother, he loves to fish, or did. Haven't talked with him for a long time, but he never liked to clean fish. So he liked to fish, he liked to eat fish, but he never liked to clean it. Well, in my opinion, if you're fishing and you're keeping fish, you got to clean your own fish, you know. So anyways, fast forward to when I was first married back in the early 90s. I was working in a factory, and some guys there were ice fishing. I didn't know anything about ice fishing, and I didn't know what to do. In fact, the first time I went out by myself, I went out on the ice, and I went to the state park. You can Google it, Potato Creek State Park. And I see a guy out sitting on a bucket, and I'm thinking, oh, so there's got to be fish here. You know, I'm just trying to learn as I go. And I walk out there, and I just had a bucket and some bait and a couple fishing rods is all I had. I had no gear really whatsoever, not a sled, not a lantern, nothing. And I'm sitting out there on the lake, and all of a sudden I hear, and the ice cracks. I mean, a crack runs right by me. And I mean, I jump up, and I'm like, oh, what was that? You know, I look over, and that old boy he's jigging. He's kept on jigging. So I was like, well, he doesn't appear to be too worried about it, and I didn't know if I had to be. And I mean, it was cold. I was all bundled up. It was colder and cold out there. Typical Northeast Indiana weather. Excuse me. But man, that ice kept a cracking and popping. Finally, it freaked me out so bad that I put all my stuff back in the bucket, and I hauled tail to the truck, and I went into work the next Monday, and I'm telling these guys, I'm like, man, I went out on the ice, but I was kind of freaking out there, you know. And I just told them what was going on, and they laughed and laughed and laughed. And I said, I just couldn't figure it out. I'm like, why are you laughing? And they're like, well, that's probably about the safest time to be out on the ice. It's making ice out there, you know. So I was like, I felt like a fool. But that's kind of how I started ice fishing. And probably later that year, I went out and borrowed my boss's ice fishing shanty, and real quick went out on the same lake, and paid no attention to where I was going. I was pulling sled out there, and there wasn't any real snow to speak of on the ice, and it was real windy out there. We got in that shanty. It was nice, and we were catching fish, crappie. Got into a bunch of crappie, and a buddy of mine was with me, and we were out there for hours. I mean, we went out probably about 5 o'clock, and I bet you it was 3 or 4 hours. And he said, well, he's going to go home, and he took off. And I was still catching fish, so I just stayed out there. And I get out when it's time for me to wrap up, and I was kind of new to that lake. And I stepped out of that ice fishing shanty, and there's no lights on that lake. It's in a state park, so there's no houses. And I looked around, and I knew the direction that we pulled the sled. I mean, obviously we had moved the sled a couple times, but I just couldn't see the shore. And we had ambient light from the nearest city would have been South Bend. That'd probably been about 10 miles away. So there's ambient light. And I I get down on the ice because you can't see I didn't see any footprints. I saw nothing, and I look up and I could kind of see the shore. That kind of gave me an orientation of where I was as far as directions were. And I started pulling that sled. I thought, well, I'm just going to head towards that shoreline. And I know when I hit the shoreline, I got to go right or left if I don't hit it right where the little landing was for the truck. And, I'll figure it out when I get there. So I get to the shoreline, long story short, and, well, do I go right? Do I go left? And I headed off left and went about 10, 15 yards and went through the ice. I was only up to about my knee, but my feet barely got wet. I tell you that. I was bouncing back out of that water. And so I decided to go the other way. And sure enough, I found the landing and found my truck. But it was kind of unnerving being out there on the water like that, And I was like, well, I guess worst comes to worst. I'll just stay out here. This is before cell phones and everything like that. And I just figured, well, my wife she knows I'm out here, and she can either call DNR or I'll just stay out here the night. And, when first light comes, I'll figure it out. So I've had some interesting times with ice fishing. Got this cleaned up pretty nice. So I'm going to put some line on it. I'm not going to bore you with all those details, but maybe I'll get some pictures and show everybody everything once it's all cleaned up. Thanks for listening. All right, well, got the line on here. There's some bright green line. Never used it before, so I'm hoping it doesn't scare off any. Hey, I'm talking on the video. I got my buddy with me out here. My German Shepherd pup. His name's Gunny Axel. Well, you might hear him. He's probably wondering who the heck I'm talking to. But it's got a little jig on here. That's all we use. And with that, you can put what we call mousies. They look like little beeswax with a little tail on there, or waxworm. Not beeswax, waxworm. Bee moths, that's what I'm trying to say. And you can put it on there. And I've had to up my supply. Got several different colors, sizes. Got some spoons in there. And now I'm hooked up. But yeah, so that's really all you do. And then you just jig it. And up and down. That'll catch you your fish. So this one's done. I'm gonna work on the rest of them, but just kind of showing you what I got planned. And I'll pull down the sled. It's up in the rafters here, and get that all set up, show you, and we'll wrap this video up. Okay, I do a quick show you of this sled. This is a homemade sled I bought from that estate sale. She wanted $5 for it. And it's homemade, very typical of what guys do around here. And especially older fellas, they make their own sleds. So obviously you put your lantern in there. Not only does that provide you light to your hole, but you actually you can sit right here on the sled, warm your hands up. This guy has fishing pole holders on the side. There's one on that side, two on this side, and then you carry all your other gear in here. That's a spoon for getting ice out. Looks like a pair of shoe, I don't know, these aren't really crampons, I don't know what you call them, but you put them on your shoes so you don't slip on the ice. And that's about it. Very simple sled. Pull it either direction. You got a rope. You can carry it out to the lake, and then I'll probably put a longer rope on there so I can just pull it. But that's it. That's the rig, and we are about ready to go. So I just gotta get this cleaned up. Well, that's about it from shop. I let this video go on long enough, rambled, told some stories, getting my gear together, and pretty excited. Actually looking forward to some colder weather so I can get out on the ice, and we'll get hopefully catching some fish. So until next time, appreciate you tagging along, and we'll catch you on the next video. Cheers.